to my channel. My name is Haley and this is the House for Hosting. Today is my Thanksgiving edition and I'm going to be sharing 2 recipes with you today that you can use for Thanksgiving dinner if you're going somewhere or if you're hosting. One is going to be a chocolate fudge pie and the other is creamy mac and cheese. Now the first recipe is this chocolate fudge pie and it's very special to me because this is my grandmother's recipe. And when I first learned to cook, this is what I started making. And since then, it's just been a staple and it's been one of my favorite things to bake. So I'm gonna share it with you today. It's so good and you'll enjoy it. Your guests will enjoy it and it's very, very easy. And then again, like I said, the second is creamy mac and cheese. I actually have that one posted on my blog and I will have it linked in the description of this video. I'm working on getting the pie on the blog. I haven't gotten it done yet. If I have it done by the time that I post this video, then I will link it. If not, I will put the recipe in the description, so don't worry. But first and foremost, let's go ahead and start with the pie. So one thing about this pie is I always make my crust from scratch because that's what my grandmother did, and personally, I think that's what makes the pie taste really, really good. Use Crisco and flour, a pinch of salt, and ice cold water. And you just make your dough. Now, since that's done, I'm gonna set it to the side and cover it so that it will help rise while I'm mixing the pie filling. So for the pie filling, you're gonna have a stick of butter melted. So I start with that first, and then you take 2 eggs. And you're gonna mix that together. And then I like to do my sugar next. It's a cup of sugar. And while I'm mixing the pie filling, I have my oven preheated to 325. After the sugar, we're gonna do 1/4 cup of cocoa. Let me know in the comments what your favorite dish is at Thanksgiving. I'm interested to know. Mine is obviously the desserts, any and all, but also I would say sweet potato casserole. Partially because it's also kind of like a dessert. It's very sweet, but I really like it. I'm really looking forward to that. We're actually doing our Thanksgiving today, so I'm looking forward to eating all that good food. When I add the flour, I do a little bit at a time and get that mixed really good. It just makes it easier. I notice if you put all the flour in and try to mix it, it can take a while to get it all mixed together. This just makes it really smooth and mixed well and a little bit faster. So the last thing you're gonna add to the pie filling is vanilla. You're gonna do 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla. And if you don't know this, if you don't have measuring cups for 1/2 teaspoon, you can use the cap from your vanilla. It's roughly the same, or at least in my opinion it is, and that's what we do around here. Less dishes to wash. I like adding the vanilla last whenever I'm baking. I just feel like it gives it that glazed look and it mixes better. And then once you have it mixed, it's ready to go in. So like I said, I made my crust. I'm gonna do a little cleanup here and then I'm gonna show you how I put the crust in the pie dish. Okay, now we're ready to put our crust in the pie dish. And as you can see, I just have it kind of in a ball, and then I'm gonna smush it down and spread it out. This crust, I will say, it can tend to be a little bit flaky, which is, I really like that, but whenever you're kneading your dough and you're pushing it out, don't get too bent up on the fact that it's kind of breaking apart. It'll bake together and it comes out just fine. All right, so I have the crust in the pie dish, and one thing I do at this point is not necessary, but it's something that I've always done because my grandmother always did it, and it's just adding a little decorative touch around the rim of the crust using a fork. So I'm gonna do that now. You just take your fork and press it in and just line the outside of your crust. Like I said, this does not change the taste. It doesn't do anything. It just gives it a little decorative touch. And again, I do it because my grandmother did it. Okay. Now we're going to take our pie filling and pour it into the shell. All right, now we are ready to put it in the oven. Again, I'm gonna bake it on 325 for about 30 minutes. The key to this pie is you want it fudgy because it is chocolate fudge pie. So usually I will underbake it and take it out, and as it cools, it kind of continues to cook a little bit. So just be mindful of that because you can easily overbake it and it's still good. Just in my opinion, I like the gooey consistency, so I usually underbake it, but I'm gonna go ahead and pop it in the oven now. While our pie is cooking, we're gonna go ahead with the macaroni and cheese casserole. This is the perfect side dish for any Thanksgiving meal, and it's something that I enjoy making very much as well. It's something that most kids will eat, and it's a very, very good recipe. I will say that this recipe has several steps to it, so I've tried to simplify it, and this is a tip that I do when I'm making it, and it's something that you can try to implement as well. So for your cheeses, if you'll go ahead and divide it out and put it in Ziploc bags and label it, that way when you're baking you know where it goes and you have it on hand. So I've got one for my sauce, one for my inner layer, and then one for my topping. And then I went ahead and did my flour as well. I try to go ahead and get all my ingredients pre-measured before starting cooking because once you get going, especially with this dish, it's something you really have to stay on top of. So it just makes it go faster, and the more you make it, the easier this recipe becomes. But like I said, this one is linked in my blog, and so I will have it linked on the description of this video. I hope that you'll try and enjoy it, but we're gonna get right into it. So I'm gonna start out by cooking my pasta. I'm gonna cook a pound of elbow pasta. This is just the Walmart brand macaroni. You don't have to get fancy with it. I'm gonna go ahead and cook this. You wanna cook it for 1 minute less than what the package says. So I'll do mine for about 7 minutes. And then after that, I'll drain it and I'll drizzle a little bit of olive oil over it so the noodles don't get sticky. And then while that sits, I'll work on the cheese sauce for the macaroni. So I'm starting out by boiling the pasta, and again, I'm gonna boil mine for 7 minutes, which is 1 minute less than what the package says. And the reason that you do this is because we're gonna end up baking this macaroni and cheese casserole, and if you cook it the full amount, the noodles will end up being more chewy and they won't taste as good. And then while I have that going, I'm gonna go ahead and start my sauce. Usually I will do one thing at a time, but because again, like I said at the beginning of the video, I'm getting ready for people coming to my house for the meal, so I'm trying to multitask. And I'm gonna go ahead and start with my sauce by melting my stick of butter and pouring in a half a cup of flour. And then you're gonna mix the flour and the butter together using a whisk until it forms a type of sandy consistency. This is normal and it's what you want, and you want to let that cook for about 1 minute before adding your milk. Once you have that cooked, you are ready to add your milk mixture, which this consists of 1.5 cups of milk and 2.5 cups of half and half. Your milk can be whole milk, 1%, 2%, whatever you prefer. I use 2% here. And then you're gonna mix it together and keep it on like a low simmer until it kind of boils. You want this sauce to become thick, kind of like condensed soup consistency. And so you're gonna just mix that together and watch it well. Again, I kind of made a mistake here. I was doing too much at one time and mine got a little bit thick towards the end. If that happens to you, you can add some extra milk and then it'll work out fine. Now for my pasta, when I pull it off, I do drizzle olive oil over the noodles just to keep them from sticking, because I might not be ready to pour the sauce on yet, which generally I'm not, and that will, like I said, prevent it from sticking as it sits and waits on you to catch up for the rest of the stuff. And then once you have your sauce ready, you can start adding your cheese mixtures. Again, we pre-divided out those packages, and the cheese consists of 4 cups of cheddar cheese and 2 cups of mozzarella cheese. I took those 2 separate cheeses together and mixed them in a bowl, and then I divided it out into my 3 baggies, which I showed at the beginning, and one was for the sauce, which was 3 cups, and one is for your inner layer. That's a 1.5 cups, and then your topping is a 1.5 cups as well. And like I said, it's just easier if you'll go ahead and pre-divide that out and measure it and put it in Ziploc bags, because when you get to this point, you really don't have time to stop and measure. So having it prepared beforehand is really going to make all the difference. So I'm just going to go ahead and mix in the sauce with the pasta and get that prepared, and then I'll show you how we add the cheese layers. I'm going to be baking my dish in a Dutch oven, but you can use a glass pan, whatever you prefer. So I start with about half of the mixture of the macaroni and just kind of line the bottom of the pan. And then once I get about half of it filled up, then I'll go ahead and take the inner layer cheese package and sprinkle that over it. And then once I have that cheese sprinkled over it, you go back and fill in the rest of the pasta to create your final topping layer. And then you want to smooth that out and get it good and even, and then you're going to top it with your package of topping of cheese. Yes, it looks like a lot of cheese because it is, but I'm telling you, tastes amazing. Like every time I make it, everybody loves it. So definitely don't be intimidated by all this cheese. It is so good. But once you get it all put together, it's ready to go in the oven, and we're going to bake it on 350 for about 10 to 15 minutes. And now we have the pie and the macaroni done, and it looks so good and it turned out great. I did link this Dutch oven in the description of this video. I found it at Walmart. It's by Pioneer Woman, and it's one that I've been wanting for a while, so y'all check it out. Well, my recipes are done and ready. We have the chocolate fudge pie and the creamy mac and cheese, and I'm so excited to dig into them. I just can't wait. I hope that this gives you some inspiration for something to take to Thanksgiving dinner in your home or wherever you're going. And I hope that you'll check out the description of this video where you can find the recipes that I have shared today. Do not forget to subscribe because you're not going to want to miss out on any of my future uploads. Thank you all so much for being here, and I want to say a special thank you to each and every one of you because I appreciate you all, and I just wanted to let you know during this time of Thanksgiving. I hope y'all have a happy, fun, and safe holiday. Until next time, bye guys.